Imagine living every nerd's dream. What started out as a fan blog 10 years ago has turned into a full-on production studio that includes TV and streaming projects, a thriving podcast network, convention and fan event services, and coming in just a few months, a pop culture film festival. Today, I am talking with Quenton Brodnak of Project Nerd. This is Tatooine Sons.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys record an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody listen to that.
Welcome to Tatooine Sons, the only fan podcast to name an official Star Wars creature and to be endorsed by the writer and the director of The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of this generation, that there is a story. It is written on our souls, and that these myths speak to that story. And that is why I am honored to be joined this week by Quenton Brodnak. Quenton is the Chief Events Officer for Project Nerd, which is a geek-centric creator collective and production company bent on world domination, built around sharing original and unique content that we can all nerd out about together. Quenton and I, we met at Pensacon back in February when we both sat on a panel focused on the responsibility we have as content creators to be both honest and respectful in our reviews and critiques. We hit it off, even though his opinions on The Last Jedi are very different than ours. I asked Quenton to explain a bit more about Project Nerd for all of you who haven't heard of them before.
Oh my gosh, there are listeners that are tuning in that have not heard of Project Nerd?
There may be three. My mother listens,
Wow.
And she doesn't go to cons. so
that sounded super like full of myself. But the truth is, we make jokes on Project Nerd all the time that we have 3 listeners. So it's funny that you pulled that number out, and it usually involves most of our mothers.
There we go.
Unfortunately, my mom just doesn't like Project Nerd, so she stopped listening years ago. But no, Project Nerd is a nerd repository, if you will. It's a place for people of fandoms of all sorts to kind of get together and celebrate their different kind of niche fandoms, right? Like we say we have a motto at Project Nerd, which is you can nerd out about anything. And we truly try to live that through Project Nerd. So we have our website, which hosts a bunch of video series and podcasts. We have a podcast network that has about 12, 13 rotating podcasts on it at any given point. And then we have a film festival that's launching in July. So I don't know when this episode's coming out, but if it is in July, check out Project Nerd Film Festival. If it's past July, you suckers, you missed out. Better watch out for it next year. It's going to be amazing. But yeah, it's kind of just a nerd coalition, if you will. Bunch of people that love a bunch of stuff.
It's funny. We were having BB Nate interviewed Michael Uslan a few weeks ago, executive producer of the Batman, and he was talking about growing up in the 60s and the 70s when dating and things like that would take a big hit if any of the girls found out he was a comic book nerd and he read it. And then we were talking about how even just 20 years ago, Big Bang Theory was an entire show built around the fact that it was, comic book fans and pop culture fans and things couldn't get dates because they were just way too nerdy. But now all of a sudden it feels like nerd has become cool. Why do you think that's the case?
Yeah, I think the truth is people realized that it's cool to like things. One of the things for me, I think growing up is I was one of those kids that kind of wafted between groups, right? Like, so I wasn't a nerd and I wasn't a popular kid. I kind of just hung out with everybody. Mm-hmm. And I think the reason for that was because I'm just a lover of passionate people. So whatever you guys are into, I would say to a group, I want to check it out. I want to know about it. I want to know what you're into. I want to know what you're doing. And so I think more and more people realized that there are a lot of people like me out there. There's a lot of people who are just interested to know things about other people's loves. I don't necessarily have to love it, but I will sit and listen to an hour-long podcast about what you love. And I think that people kind of, those guards came down. Plus, let's be honest, if we're talking like brass tacks here, pop culture has embraced the nerd community, and it started making a lot of money, and everybody loves rich people, and nerds suddenly became rich people, right? And so suddenly, instead of being like the all-star sports star, people were looking at like, Kevin Feige, who is a nerd and is heading up one of the most successful movie franchises of all time now. And so they're like, oh, maybe, you know what? Maybe these nerds know something. Maybe maybe they got something cool going on. But yeah, so truth is I think people realize that being a nerd doesn't necessarily mean wearing glasses or doing extra credit in school. All those things are cool. I'm not telling any kids not to do that. But I think there was very much like a stereotype of like what a nerd could be. And I think over the past decade or so, we've really seen that, like Project Nerd says, you can nerd out about anything. We have people that are woodworking nerds, right? They're like lumberjack looking, plaid shirt wearing, can tell you what different woods are just by smelling them kind of people. And I wouldn't necessarily 10 years ago have associated the word nerd with someone like that, right? And I think so the nerd term has just kind of been broadened, and it's been embraced by a more kind of open community thing. Does that make sense?
So yeah, absolutely. What was your nerddom when you were growing up? You said you kind of weren't really necessarily a nerd. You kind of moved around in between groups. Yeah. But what was the kind of the things that you nerded out about? Sure.
100%. So the three core things, I would say, my three core nerddoms, my three nerdy kyber crystals, if you will. I want to throw that in there for you. That's what powers my internal lightsaber.
There you go.
One is puppetry. I'm a huge diehard Jim Henson fan. And puppetry of all forms, but Henson was a huge influence on my life. I would say the second one is probably nerd nostalgia. So the 90s era children's shows and series and movies that were coming out, late 80s, early 90s specifically. And then I would say the third thing is musicals. I'm a huge musical nut fanatic, if you will. And so those are probably my three main nerddoms, I would say.
Okay, so we'll go back to my high school years when these came out, but they're obviously two of the biggest musicals in history. So you're familiar with them as I'm sure you are. Which is better, Les Mis or Phantom?
Oh, Les Mis.
Yeah, see, I knew I'd liked you.
Yeah, Les Mis. The music's better. The story is better, I think. Now that's not knocking Phantom. I had this.
No, Phantom's amazing.
It really is, but it's not better than. If we're doing a greater than, less than, Les Mis greater than Phantom. But I have to say specifically that they're speaking. I don't know if you can hear my son.
No,
in the
that's
awesome.
There,
but we when I was a kid, I had this pop-up book of Phantom of the Opera. And so it was a pop-up book, but it played little audio clips and audio songs and segments from the play, from the Broadway show. And when I had my son, and that's why he's a perfect segue. When I had my son, I went on a hunt to find this book again. I no longer had it, but I was like, I remember, like, it was such one of those core memory things from my childhood growing up that I wanted to find it. I did find it. I will not tell you how much it was. I will tell you how much it was. It was insane. It was insane. This book was probably like a $15 book when I was a child and it was out. And now the book ran about $75 to $80 because it's out of print and it was like a super like limited. Yeah. So that's how much of a nerd I am. So like I said, awesome. Not saying I don't like Phantom because I paid $80 for a pop-up book for my son, but Les Mis is better.
You know, one of my favorite musical memories of all time. I've seen Les Mis on Broadway 4 times and on tour another 3, and Phantom several times as well. But my family and I we're on an RV tour, touring the country for a nonprofit that I was helping to lead. And we were in the Pittsburgh area. And on a whim, we decided to spend a couple of days in New York City. And we got last minute tickets to Les Mis. We sat in the very back row of the theater. And it was when Ramin Karimlo was performing it, which he has done Phantom, and he's done a bunch of other things. And hearing his version of Bring Him Home was probably the most emotional and just chilling renditions that I've ever heard. And to hear that live, it's amazing with that. So I love that. I love the fact that the musicals,
Yeah, I'm a huge nut about it. Now I have to ask you a question. I'm going to flip this interview a little bit.
That's what happens when you get podcasters on the show. You know, they do this. So
they do totally 100%. Let me interview you on your own show.
Yes, let's do it. All right.
My question is, since you asked me what's better, Les Mis or Phantom, my question to you is, which movie was better, Les Mis or Phantom with Gerard Butler?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I will have to say that I was obsessed with the soundtrack of the Phantom film. I thought it was just really, really good. And at the same time, having seen Les Mis and been so obsessed with Les Mis, the theater versions, watching everything I could get my hands on, I was ready when Les Mis hit the theaters and terribly disappointed with it, and especially Russell Crowe, and so I cannot watch that film. So Gerard Butler and Phantom of the Opera is the better film. What would you say?
I would. Okay, so I'm gonna put like my musical hat off and my film appreciation hat on. I will argue that I do think that overall Les Mis is a better film. There were, on the musical side, I was much more critical of some of the performances in Les Mis, like you just referenced. But I will say that overall, as a film, I thought it was better. I thought it was interesting. They did the whole like live audio recording for it. So they were recording the songs on set, which I thought was cool and brought like a different take to it. But yeah, so I'm going to have to go Les Mis, I think.
All right.
It sounds, I realize that it's making me sound very much like I don't like Phantom on this episode.
No, it's fine. Listen, I mean, no, I totally get it. Now we won't talk about Love Never Dies. We'll just act like Love Never Dies.
We're just going to skip. Happened. Guess what? It does. Love does die.
Yeah, it does that, especially in that one. Okay. Well, we're on it, so I'm going to hit it. Okay. Are you excited about Wicked? There was more news about that this week. Yes. They're going to divide it into Wicked Part 1 and Part 2. Is that something that you're excited about?
Yeah, I'll say, okay, so hands down, Cynthia Erivo, who is playing the Wicked Witch in this take, is amazing. Like, I love her in general. I think she's a fantastic actress. I don't know if you've ever really like kind of dove into her musical background, but she is an amazing singer. So that side I'm very excited about. I will say the casting of Ariana Grande as Glinda, I'm a little unsure of. But I'm not like out. I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know.
That's
about
so
that.
Funny. I honestly think of this the same way. I feel the same way about this as I did when they originally announced Robert Pattinson would be playing Bruce Wayne in the Batman. I was like,
sure.
Oh, okay. Maybe I need to see a trailer on this to understand. And that's exactly what this is. So.
Exactly. And I think and maybe that'll sway me. You know what I mean? I know she's been a part of like some of the Wicked like retrospectives they've gotten together and like the 25-year anniversary. And she came out and performed some songs and they were good. And maybe this is the same Robert Pattinson argument. I don't know if she's a good actress. Like she can definitely sing for sure. So that part I'm less curious about, but it's more like the only acting that I know that she did. I have 2 teenage daughters and they watched Victorious and she was on that. That's literally the only exposure of acting that I know. And spoiler alert, it's not great. It's a Nickelodeon kids show. Like it's not, nobody's winning any awards there.
That's funny.
So yeah, so we'll see. I did think it's kind of crazy that they're breaking it into 2 movies.
Which I appreciate. Don't cut it down. It's one of the best musicals that has ever been made. It's stunning, and don't cut it. Make it. I just
think it's a bold move. I don't think I don't think musicals do very well in the common current filmscape. So I think it's a bold move for a studio to be like, you know what? Not only are we going to make this one musical, but we're going to split it into 2 because we're confident that people are going to come back to the theater again to see the second part.
Because if Ariana Grande is terrible in part 1, there's part 2.
But that's the question. Then does part 2 never get made? It's like the whole Dune situation. Like I was terrified when they announced part 1 of Dune. I was excited because I was like, great, there's no way you can put all of Dune into one film. But I was also really nervous because I'm like, I'm going to be so sad if we get one half of a really great film. And that's it.
What did you think about Dune? Because we thought it was fantastic, but we saw it in the theater. And what we have learned is that people that watched it on HBO Max originally had a very different experience than people saw it in the theater. What was your experience like?
Totally. My wife and I went and saw it in the theater. She had never seen a Dune film, so this was her first exposure to Dune in general. I have, I'm familiar with the novels. I've seen the Lynch original. I loved it. I was blown away. I think that I'm going to butcher his name. Villeneuve.
Yeah. We don't get it right. We just need to try.
I think Dennis, I think he is one of the best directors living today. And I think his filmography kind of speaks for itself. I thought Blade Runner 2049 was amazing. I loved Prisoners. I loved Enemy. I loved I've just been on Arrival. I've been on board with everything that he's done. And I think he handled this film so well. That was another one casting wise when they announced Zendaya was going to be in Dune.
Sure.
I was like, what? Weird. Now, again, not that I didn't think she was going to be a great at part of the movie, but more so just like I haven't really seen her again in anything other than some of the Disney shows that my kids had watched and Spider-Man at that point. Right. And she's kind of a non-entity in Spider-Man, I thought, until this latest one. She's just kind of a background character. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it was fantastic. I'm excited about that and how they're rolling it out with the HBO Max series as well, and all that's going to be a lot of fun. Totally. They've got some amazing projects coming out, in streaming and stuff like that. I want to learn a little bit more about what you guys have going on in Project Nerd. Yeah. What are some of you mentioned the film festival that's coming up in July. What are some of the other nerd projects that you and your team are working on that have you most excited?
Yeah, so this year, 2022 was a big year for us. We decided at the end, we've traditionally been a nerd blog since, let's see, this is our 10th year anniversary. So since 2012, we started a blog, and that was primarily our focus for a long time. We would write, reviews and articles and just your traditional kind of nerd blog fare. And over the years, as more and more people got involved with the brand, myself included, we decided that we had kind of grown past that, and we have decided to transition more. Hi.
Hey, we're a family podcast. Bring him in. Come on, let's go.
Hi. Come here.
Awesome.
Can you say hi? Can you say hi? That's David. Can you say hi? That's close.
You're getting
You
there.
want to say bye? You gonna go with Mama?
Mama.
Okay, let's go with Mama.
That's totally staying in the show, so just be aware of that. So
that's great. I love it. He is ready. He's ready for his camera debut. He's been he's just chomping at the bit for it. That's what I raised him for. Awesome. My plan is when he grows up and becomes rich and famous, I can just kick back and
There you go. That's awesome.
What were we talking about? Oh,
we're talking about the history of Project Nerd and how do you,
the future of Project Nerd. That's him right there.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
No, so we decided to retire the blog officially in December of 2021, and we have now transitioned to becoming a full-fledged production company. So aside from producing the podcast series that we produce, we've recently ventured into producing some television series. We've transitioned. We produced our first 2 comedy specials this year that are currently being shopped out to some networks. And that's kind of where Iggy, the founder of Project Nerd, and myself, that's where our heart lies. We're so grateful to have been fans for so long of the entertainment industry that we're ready for our shot, so to speak. As Lin-Manuel would say it, we're not going to throw away our shot. So
that's right.
So that's kind of what Project Nerd is doing right now. We have several different series that we're developing and in various stages of production. We have a cooking series that we filmed a couple months back that's looking for a home. There may be some resurgence. We had toyed with the idea late last year and early this year of launching our own app platform, video streaming platform. You may see a little bit more of that coming in the next couple months, but yeah, primarily just keep your eyes peeled. We've got, for your favorite new series and comedy stuff, and watch out for our little Project Nerd Productions banner in front of it, because we're coming at you.
Project Nerd is a real inspiration for all of us over here at Tatooine Sons. They've been putting in the work for a decade and are building something very special in the pop culture space. But the best part about it is that they are committed to doing it the right way. In a world of clickbait and controversy shortcuts, Project Nerd is about taking the narrow road by avoiding the toxicity and fake news that generates quick growth, but at the cost of their integrity. We'll get back to my conversation with Quenton in just a minute, but before we do that, I want to encourage you to check out our partners over at Newsly. Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks up web articles about the most trending topics on the web at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. And so what that means is that for the first time in the history of the internet, the entire web becomes listenable all in one place. Browse articles from topics you choose and just start playing. You can stop scrolling and start listening. You can follow any topic as specific as you like, from sports and science to Bitcoin, or even the topics that we love so much, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, whatever. If you do this, it's going to help you find the latest articles, and then it's going to read them to you out loud while you're doing other things. And they also have podcasts as well. So you can explore trending podcasts from over 80 countries and feature podcasts like Tatooine Sons. They even have digital radio. I've started using this as my default podcast app. You can try it out too. Just download and use Newsly for free right now. You just go to newsly.me, or you can go to the link in the description on the show notes here, and then use the promo code Tatooine Sons. Let me spell it out for you. Write it down. TAT001 NES0 and S, and you'll receive 1 month free premium subscription, which is going to be awesome for you. Go ahead and download it and then let us know a little bit more about what you think. We'd love to hear from you on that. And then mark your calendars for Saturday, May 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We are actually going to do something we've never done before. We're going to host a fully interactive watch party on Stream Lounge to close out Star Wars week. They're doing a whole week of celebration for that. And what other movie would you expect that we would watch on there but the greatest of all the Star Wars movies, The Last Jedi? So you'll be able to join us on there, chat, and interact with us live while we all watch together. And we'll be giving our running commentary all along the way. So grab a friend and join us at 7 p.m. Eastern on May 7th. All right, so most of you know that Tatooine Sons was birthed out of our experience at Star Wars Celebration Orlando in 2017. And then I mentioned earlier that Quenton and I met at Pensacon earlier this year. So I asked him why these cons and these fan conventions are so special.
Gosh, yes, that's what a big question. I think it's just the sense of belonging, right? Like, we're there and we love them for the same reason that people continue to attend them. It's amazing. I think it's kind of the same thing that everybody else is there for, right? Like a gathering of people who are passionate, who are there to celebrate the things that they love, whether it be film or video games or comics or artistry in general, costuming. And so I think that's the thing. Like, we're never, no matter what we develop into production wise, we're never going to stop doing convention stuff. Hopefully, we're going to be on the other side of the convention, which would be a lot of fun. Instead of just being there interviewing people, we'll be the ones getting interviewed and probably flipping it on them, like I have been trying to do on your show several times. But yeah, I just myself, the first convention I ever went to was probably, I think Dragon Con might have been my first convention several years ago. And I was just blown away. It was like landing on a different planet. You know, suddenly you're surrounded by people in costumes and people just like celebrating all of these things that they love. And yeah, I was there. I had some friends. I moderated. This is going to sound super crazy. And like, I really jumped the gun on doing things, but my very first convention I went to, I was moderating a panel at a convention. Wow. And I was moderating a panel. I know, it's crazy. I was moderating a panel for a buddy of mine who's a filmmaker, and he had made a horror film, and is called Beast of the Water. If anybody wants to check it out, it was on Amazon at one point. I don't know if it's still up there. Rashad Santiago is his name. He was a contestant on Face Off. He's a super, super awesome dude. And my other buddy, Rick Prince, who is also a contestant on Face Off, they made this film together. And yeah, I was doing my podcast, had never been to a convention. I was doing my High Five the Podcast show. And he was like, "Hey, you're good at talking to people. Do you want to come with us to Dragon Con and moderate our panel?" And I was like, "Sure. Yeah. Okay." And it blew my mind. And I fell so deeply in love with conventions and the convention circuit. And I haven't been able to tear myself away since. I head up the live event side of Project Nerd. And so I'm at probably, I don't know, 10 to 12 shows a year now. and it's awesome. I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's so cool. All right, we can't have you on and not talk about some of the amazing things that are coming up in nerddom over the next few months, because it's going to be a crazy end of 2022. We've got, I can't even keep track of everything that's coming out. Doctor Strange 2, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Thor 4,
got
Stranger
my tickets
Things,
already.
Avatar, Top Gun, Maverick. There's tons of amazing films and series coming out. Of all of the things that are coming out the rest of 2022, which one are you the most looking forward to, and why?
Oh my gosh. You were basically just lined up all my kids and were like, pick your favorite.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Well, I bought tickets for Doctor Strange already, so I'm going to the Thursday preview show.
Nice.
Very, very excited about that. I love the direction that the MCU is embracing the multiverse now. I can't wait. Okay. I just want them to get crazier with it. And I think Doctor Strange may do it. I don't know. But I want them to just go like full bore, like crazy, insane universe jumping, kind of what Into the Spider-Verse did for Spider-Man. I love that they were like bringing in obscure, like Spider Noir, like a super obscure Spider-Man characters. That's what I want from the MCU. That's what I'm hoping for. Give me all the like weird, obscure, like one-off characters from different timelines and stuff. So I'm super pumped about that. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, there's so much stuff. That's honestly, that may be like my biggest. They keep pushing movies, so I don't know. I want to say other things, but I don't know if they'll actually be coming out or not. So yeah, I'd say right now on the like nearish horizon, that's something I'm really, really excited about. Yeah, I just watched. Are you a big TV watcher at all?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Have you watched the Russian Doll series?
I haven't. Tell me about it. I've heard of it a little bit.
Okay.
But.
So Russian Doll, Natasha Lyonne, Amy Poehler produced series on Netflix. Really, really good. The first season came out in 2019 or 2020, like right as the pandemic was hitting. And I binge watched it. It's like an 8 episode, half-hour series. And it's basically a play on one of my favorite tropes, which is the Groundhog Day style kind of trope. And in this case, it was dying and coming back to life on the same day. And in this case, it was her birthday, and trying to figure out like what that means and why this happened. And it ended, and it was fantastic. And they announced the second season was coming out, and I was like, "How? Why?" Like it was just kind of it was one of those stories where like it ran its course, and they wrapped it up, and it was like, okay, this is great. And it came out last Friday or 2 Fridays ago, and I just finished the second season, and I can say I watch a grotesque amount of TV series and movies yearly, and it is maybe one of the best things that I have seen. It was a really brilliant way to keep that story going, and I won't spoil it too much, but they actually did not dive back into the Groundhog Day trope. They figured out a way to bring something else kind of into play.
Interesting.
And I highly recommend it. And I think I might have loved it so much because we were talking multiverse, and now I'm talking this series, and I actually have like a joining of the two. I saw a couple weeks back maybe one of my favorite movies, and now that I've like sat and marinated on it, it definitively has made it into like my top 5 of all time. I went and saw Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Okay.
Have you seen this movie or heard of this movie?
No. I've heard of it. Mm-hmm.
It is maybe the best multiverse story I have ever seen on film. It's brilliant. It is heartfelt. It has amazing action. It's funny. It's just a really, like, I was blown away at how good it was. Like, it was very rarely do films come along and I'm just like taken aback.
Wow.
And it was wholly original, just a totally different kind of thing, and I cannot recommend it enough. So I know we're talking about what am I excited about going forward, but I have to talk about what I'm excited about that has already passed, because I want everyone to go see this movie in the theater if possible, if people are comfortable with that, because it needs all of your money so that films like this continue to get made.
That's awesome. Alongside all the other big blockbusters, right? We can have both.
Well, those are gonna those are gonna keep happening no matter what we do. Even if we don't want them, those are gonna keep happening. Like we're on Jurassic Park. We're on Jurassic Park 6 at this point, folks. So like, let's be honest. It's just they're just gonna keep doing it, whether we go see it or not. I don't know how I feel about that. Are you excited about Jurassic Park 6? Am I like pooping on your...
my kids are excited, especially Nathan. He's super excited about this. He's always loved the Jurassic Park movies. They're pumped. Like, tickets came out today, and it was like, we're going to the double showing of the original Jurassic Park and then the new one on Thursday night. They're doing that, so they're excited about it. I'm kind of like, yeah, it's okay. You know, it'll be fun to see the original characters come back with this. With the Chris Pratt. Yeah.
Not to like derail you too much, but like, what did you think about the last two Jurassic World sequels?
I thought that the first one, it felt like Jurassic Park, so it was a lot better than the sequels to the original Jurassic Park.
Sure.
But it definitely felt like, okay, let's just do this all over again. With that, Chris Pratt was awesome. With it, I just don't even. I know we saw Fallen Kingdom. I know I saw it in the theaters. I don't even remember it. So
sure.
I mean, I don't. So I'm, it's one of those. Oh yeah, we got to go see a new Jurassic World movie here in a couple of weeks. So I guess I should catch up and make sure I remember what happened in the last one. That's sort of where I'm at. What did you think about them?
Sure. I thought they were okay, but I'm going to let you in on a hot take. A lot of people don't know this. I'm lying. A lot of people know this. I've talked about this on my podcast often. I really, really liked The Lost World.
Okay.
Like a lot. And most people look at me like I'm an insane person. Like I'm wearing pants on my head and shirt for pants. When I say that, and I don't know why, because it's really good. Like it really is.
Why is it good?
Okay, a couple things. One, it has an equally awesome set piece as like the Tyrannosaurus or the T-Rex attack in the Jeep scene in the original Jurassic Park.
Right.
It has this awesome scene where the T-Rex attacks an RV, and the RV is like hanging over a cliff, and there's a giant plate glass window that they like fall, and it's like cracking.
Yes.
What an amazingly brilliant set piece.
Right.
Super smart.
Right.
First time I'd seen that done. And I thought, like, I know this new Jurassic World movie is all about like what happens if dinosaurs get unleashed in our, town or the world or whatever. But it doesn't, like, I've watched the trailers and it just doesn't feel intense enough or real enough. If I saw a T-Rex coming down my street right now, I would pee my pants. I would like flail and scream. I would look like Kermit the Frog, like the meme of just like the arms in the air, like like freaking out. And I will say that the only time that I feel like I saw that in one of the Jurassic Park movies was the representation when the T-Rex got loose in, I don't even remember where it was, New York, maybe. At the end of The Lost World. Yeah. And it was great. I felt like everybody's reactions were exactly what it should be. I remember the T-Rex like hanging out in some kid's pool. I may be misremembering this, but like coming by a pool, eating someone's dog. Like that's the kind of stuff that I was like, yeah.
So have you seen the prologue for this movie that they released in theaters back? They like 2 years ago released a prologue.
Is that the one with the camping, the family's camping?
Yeah, Battle at Big Rock. So is that scary enough for you?
Yes, I loved that, but I will tell you this, that the trailer that I've seen recently, the trailer does not evoke the same feeling that
it doesn't.
They look like two separate things.
They do.
So
like we're just living alongside the dinosaurs now is the way that it feels.
And I guess I really bailed watching this new trailer, they lost me when Chris Pratt is like on a motorcycle with raptors chasing him, driving through what, I don't know, looks like maybe like Madrid or something. It looks like a standard action movie, like car chase, but with dinosaurs. And I'm like, nah, like, sorry, like I'm seeing too much. You know what I mean? That's like going through a haunted house ride with the lights on. Like, it's just, I don't want to see this. Like, this doesn't hold the same thing. I also have a theory, and I'm just going to throw this out to you. I've talked to my wife about this. My theory is this. The Jurassic Park movies only work at night and in the rain. They only work. The
best scenes have been at night and in the rain.
And that's it. It does not work in the daytime. It does not work in like large open spaces. Like, none of that works. And I feel like that's what Spielberg kind of hit and dialed into in the first movie, was he realized, okay, like because those scenes where they like see the giant, you know, brachiosaurs when they first come and they're like, wow, none of that feels tense, and it's not supposed to, right? But it's well lit, it's daytime, it's wide open spaces. You can't make a dinosaur feel scary in a wide open space in daytime. That's like the equivalent of that scene from Austin Powers of the guy like standing in front of the steamroller for like 10 minutes and being like, no. And it's like, we'll just get away from that steamroller. In this case, it's like, we'll just run away from that dinosaur. Like, there is 3 football fields in between you and this dinosaur, and it's daytime. So you can see where he is. No worries. You're going to get away. It's going to be fine.
That's funny.
So yeah,
that's true. I had never thought about it for that, but they are the best scenes are always at night, always tight spaces, or it's raining outside, or thundering and lightning and all that other stuff.
Yeah, the third movie, which is arguably like also not a great movie, but its best scenes from that movie is one of the end scenes where they're getting attacked on a sinking riverboat or like boat by the T-Rex in the rain at night. It's it's one of the most effective scenes. And then there's a scene in the aviary where they're like running away from this pterodactyl, but it's all filled with fog. That is also effective. Fog or rain, cool. I guess, are interchangeable.
There you go. All right. So last question then, since we're talking about scary movies, and what makes Jurassic Park scary. We don't do like slasher horror stuff. That's not our thing. But as far as like scary movies, what's the best scary movie that you've seen that nobody else seems to know about?
Oh, all right. Can I cheat and give 2?
Sure.
Okay. So the first one is a like straightforward kind of slasher movie, kind of. And it's called The Triangle. I feel like nobody has seen this movie. It's really good. It also is a play on kind of time travel-y. I'm a real like diehard time. Like, if a movie has time travel in it, I will see it. Like, no matter how bad it looks.
Time travel, multiverses, all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna watch
it. Like, I don't care. And it's really, really good. So The Triangle, I highly recommend. It's like it was an indie film. It's really good. And then the second one would probably be Session 9, and it is not a slasher film. It is not a particularly like gory film at all. It just deals a lot with just good old fashioned kind of dread. And it's like a psychological horror, and it's really, really good. It's really impactful. And it stars David Caruso of CSI fame, who, you know,
very nice.
I don't know. I always just throw that out there because usually people are like, "Oh,
all
cool."
the dads remember him."
Exactly. I say it as if it's gonna like, you know, as if I'm dropping like a, you know, it's got The Rock in it, but it's like it's got David Caruso, and people are like, "Oh, okay, is he the guy from? He's the like sunglass guy on CSI."
Was that NYPD Blue?
Exactly. They're like, "All right, red hair, yeah, okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about."
So what makes a movie like that one with, you know, that dread? Why does that kind of scary work so well, in your opinion?
Yeah. That's a really good question. I think it works well because, and this film in particular deals a lot with like perception and like your own mental stability. And I think the scariest thing in real life is probably your own mind, right? Like, if people knew all the time kind of what was going through everybody's mind at a given point, that's like sometimes it can be a pretty scary place. And especially the idea of people like losing their minds is particularly scary to me. Like, I think that like not having, and maybe it's, you know, that bravado of being like a podcaster and in front of people. Of course, one of the most scary things would be like suddenly not having my like wherewithal or faculties about me and like, you know, doing or saying something crazy, you know. And so that feels particularly scary to me. I think real people doing weird things is scary. A lot scarier, I think, than, you know, monsters or boogeymen or whatever, what have you, a guy chasing you with a machete. Again, if you're in a wide enough space, just run away from the guy with the machete. Just go the other, you know, I've played enough video games, just like throw things in his path, climb walls, climb on the roof, whatever you have to do.
Just don't run into them.
Just don't run towards him.
That's
and never run into like a closet. That's like a very stupid idea. I'm always the guy in the theater, for better or for worse, that's like, why did you go in there? Why? Like, where were you going to go? You went into the closet to hide from him.
Which takes us full circle back to your puppetry, because you're like one of the old guys in the Muppets
totally.
When you're in those
Statler
movies.
And Waldorf,
you know?
that's me.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Exactly.
I'm like, what are you doing? Well, it looks like he's on the menu for dinner. Ha, 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 ha. You know.
Right.
But yeah, so I like a very particular brand of horror. I'm very squeamish, so I'm not for like blood and guts and like torture-y stuff. I just don't subscribe to that. But I do like a really well thought out, like mind-bendy thriller that like makes me think and freaks me out that way.
Like an Alfred Hitchcock style or something like that.
I can tell you right now, definitively not Alfred Hitchcock, but kind of in the same vein, my all-time hero in the entertainment business is Rod Serling. Okay, I think Rod Serling was one of the most brilliant creators in the entertainment space of our lifetime, at least. He has written so many amazing plot twists and things that he originated, and now every movie pulls from. Including, did you know that he wrote Planet of the Apes? A lot of people don't realize that.
I didn't realize that.
Yep. But when you think about it, doesn't that make sense like with that, the ending?
Yeah, it does.
And the plot twist, it's kind of like, oh yeah, that feels kind of like a Twilight Zone episode.
It does. That's bizarre. That's so cool.
Yeah, he's one of my heroes. I was actually, do you ever have those dream projects that live in your head and you're like, if I ever get the chance to do this, I'm going to do this specific thing. And for some reason, this is so silly, but for some reason, even though like I'm nowhere near accomplishing one of these dream projects, if somebody else does it, I'm always like, dang it, I was almost there. Like I almost did it. And they did it just right before me. But it's like, no, they didn't, because I had no way. Like, I wasn't even remotely close to being able to do this. That happened when they relaunched the Twilight Zone series with Jordan Peele.
Right.
Because one of my dreams was, I was like, all right, I'm going to relaunch when I get famous. I'm going to relaunch the Twilight Zone. And I want to be Rod Serling. I want to be that character. I'm going to host this series, and it's going to be modern. It's going to take on these kind of fresh things. And they announced that series, and for some reason, as if it was between Jordan Peele and I, as if we were both up for the audition, I was like, dang it, man, this close, just missed out on it. And I don't know why I do that, but that's a very good series. I highly recommend everyone checking out the guy who got to it first before me, Jordan Peele.
Quenton is obviously joking there at the end about Jordan Peele stealing his idea for rebooting The Twilight Zone. But there is something important there in Quenton's story that gives us a glimpse as to why I believe Project Nerd is poised to make big waves in pop culture. They are all about big ideas. Quenton and everyone else over there have found that delicate balance between being realistic from a business perspective while going after just amazing, massive, crazy ideas like a pop culture film festival and Project Nerd TV. They're successful because they've learned to shut out the voices that tell them it won't work while going after their dreams in the right way. In some ways, we can relate to this. For 19 months, we were told there would be no way that Turbis would ever be made Star Wars canon. But we ignored those voices. We used some good sense in the way we interacted with people, and we kept moving forward until that fateful day when StarWars.com announced that Chewie was going to liberate Kashyyyk from the First Order with his little porg friend, Turbis. I want to thank Quenton for joining me this week on Tatooine Sons. Check out everything these guys are doing and have going on over there at Project Nerd by visiting projectnerd.com. And thank you for listening to Tatooine Sons of Pop Culture Podcast. If you enjoyed this interview, please take a moment to rate and review the show on your podcast app of choice, and make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button on your app so that you get every episode the moment it drops. Our next episode releases on Tuesday. We're talking about the death of one of the characters in Moon Knight, a preview of what we can expect to happen on May the 4th be with you, and everything that you need to know about the live action remake of Marvel's What If, also known as Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Make sure you follow the show so you don't miss an episode. And then remember to mark your calendars for our Last Jedi watch party on Saturday, May 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And while you're at it, follow the show on Facebook and Twitter and all of our social media accounts, Instagram, everything else, YouTube. Share this episode with somebody else. It is the best way that you help the show grow. That's going to do it for today. There's only one thing left to say.
May the Force be with you, always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.
Join, please.